Several of the DUGGAR boys went through the ALERT program.
ALERT is Gothard's paramilitary organization.
So, you know, ALERT sounds really cool. Militia of homeschooled boys sounds a little scarier.
Is IBLP's ALERT program really a militia of homeschool boys or a paramilitary organization? What does ALERT stand for? It stands for Air Land Emergency Resource Team. So what do they do exactly?
Their goal was to have one generation start off this godly chain of events that the next generation would amplify until we essentially took over the entire world for Jesus Christ. That was their stated goal.
There is always a bigger agenda.
You wouldn't go to war in ancient times with a quiver of arrows that only has 1 or 2 arrows in it. You want as many arrows as you can to shoot at the enemy.
That's what we're supposed to do with our children. Nurture them and grow them, and then send them out into the world as strong arrows to have an impact on the world.
Are they training young homeschool men to overtake the world, as suggested by Shiny Happy People producers? First, I think the definition of those words, militia and paramilitary, need to be defined. According to an online dictionary, militia means a military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement a regular army in an emergency, and a military force that engages in rebel or terrorist activities in opposition to a regular army. So part of that could apply if you want to stretch it, because they do respond to emergencies and they do sometimes help alongside Army personnel. But so would first responders who have nothing to do with IBLP or ALERT and are certainly not a militia. But ALERT is not a military force, and they do not have and are not trained in the use of weapons to attack or defend anyone by force. So the word militia does not apply. They are not a militia. The other description was that they were Gothard's paramilitary organization. What does paramilitary mean? The straight definition of paramilitary is an unofficial force organized similarly to a military force. But look at the word used in a sentence in the dictionary and the rest of the definition. Soldiers and police have been killed in conflicts with the drug cartels and their paramilitary allies. A further search into the word and its meaning tells more of the story of what most people think of when they hear the word paramilitary. Paramilitary is an organization that is not part of a country's official or legitimate armed forces, but often operates with military-like capabilities. Despite not being a formal military, paramilitaries exhibit strength, firepower, and organizational structure akin to light infantry or special forces. They utilize military equipment, such as long guns and armored personnel carriers, often sourced from military surplus, and employ skills like battlefield medicine and bomb disposal. Their tactics include urban warfare and close quarters combat. And this is what most people think of when they hear the word paramilitary. They think of armed men who are not in the official armed forces, who use weapons to push forward an agenda of some kind, usually with an anti-government bent. And like many online hosts do, Shiny Happy People isn't the only program misrepresenting the ALERT organization by using the word paramilitary to describe the group. And notice in this next clip how this host keeps using the word cult, which he does a lot because he's very angry at the IBLP organization in general and often misrepresents what they are about and what they teach.
So ALERT, it was the cult's paramilitary organization, which, I mean, that's just an insane concept on its own, right? So they were training these guys as soldiers for the cult. Here's the real issue with ALERT, in my opinion. This program was a training program heavy with indoctrination and brainwashing in a very intentional military environment. They were conditioning hundreds and hundreds of young men to be robots for Gothard and his cult. That is what I believe. We know that the ultimate goal for the IBLP cult was world domination.
So is ALERT in reality a militia or paramilitary organization? It was not difficult to find the answer by just looking up their website and reading about what the program trains young men to do.
What we're aiming for is that we would train men to serve. Now, if you're going to serve, you have to have tools to do that with.
And then it gives you opportunities to actually apply those service skills where you're on real-world disasters.
I wanted to do something in public safety and then realized how professional the training here was.
Giving to those people who can give nothing back, to me, really sums up what it means to love.
There's not one mention of weapons. ALERT does not have any weapons because they are not needed in helping people in emergencies like hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes. Their goal is to help people in need during emergencies, not to do the job of the armed forces, which is to preserve and defend the country. ALERT cadets were deployed to help during Hurricane Katrina, the Oklahoma City bombing, and even the space shuttle disaster, among many other emergencies, both in the United States and abroad.
When I was in second phase in 2003, that's when the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster happened. In the middle of the night, they woke us up, said, this happened, we all had to get ready to leave.
Pieces of the shuttle were seen falling from the sky.
We went to the Nacogdoches Operations Center, Emergency Operations Center there. There were people from all parts of government, EPA, FEMA, and so forth.
There was lots of the FBI, there was tons of police, tons of search and rescue organizations all coming together there.
At that time, that was the biggest response to disaster relief in the history of the United States. And we began working. We gridded off that area and we were sending guys to a certain area and we would show that that had been completed.
And when the ALERT young men are called and deployed to do what they're trained to do, they show the benefit of the program to those they serve.
They're really happy with how we performed, how we were disciplined, and we did what we were asked to do.
As they were getting close to the end of this grid, Glenn, the FBI agent in charge, he told me, he said, as soon as we finish the last grid, they're going to shut the whole thing down. And then they're going to bring in the Forest Service. About 3 days later, I get a call from somebody from FEMA. They said, we saw what your men did. We know what they can do. We would like to hire some of your men to come out here and lead these teams of Forest Service people to make sure they get in the right area to do the right thing. It shows how well disciplined these young men were and how impressive they were to others who saw what they were doing. These were young men, these were 20-year-olds.
Young men in the ALERT program also learn real-world skills that they can use for future jobs in the emergency services industry, and many have gone on to enlist in actual military service, even becoming Navy SEALs. On the About page on the ALERT website, it says, "Our goal is to create men who are spiritually sound, physically fit, and ready to serve." I think that sums up what their organization is about in one sentence. And it's not to take over the world. So clearly the shiny, happy people claim, and the claim by others online, that the ALERT program is IBLP's paramilitary or militia group is just another lie and a clever misrepresentation of the truth. Next time.
You know, you have this kind of parallel of Bill Gothard abusing young girls in his program and Josh Duggar abusing young girls in his home.
We'll talk more about that next time. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.